think about things like monitoring. I could have talked about that as part of both these capstones as well, because they both have their own programs of when they like to chime in and see how students are going. They don't do things like comment on every discussion posting, but they keep an eye on things where they can see students are having an issue and jump in if required. Being pragmatic and realistic about the expectations. Target the range of assessment types, for example, presentations and reports, what it is that the students need to be able to demonstrate at the end, and then make those part of the assessment strategy. Have a few rules of engagement, so agreeing about procedures for mediating problems. The minute you're talking about group projects, for instance, you need to have some processes for students if they do have problems, especially in work-based contexts, because in some ways they're representing your university. So you can't have them, having fisticuffs in the stairwell at their company when they're out there trying to solve their problems. And a plan for requirements such as ethics and occupational health and safety and things. So, for instance, we have some moves towards streamlined ethics processes because we've had problems with students, almost finishing their external project before they got ethics approval. So we've tried to expedite those processes for things like capstone units. So the last page is just a resources page. And then I'll stop talking and see if someone else would like to have a turn.
Okay, Matthew, maybe we'll just put that URL back in the text to put up the questionnaire so that people can fill that out as we're doing the final discussion. Is that okay, Margot?
Yeah, that's fine. And I was wanting to leave a couple more minutes, but yes, hopefully there will still be time for people to have some comments.
This URL is for Margot's page on her resources at Macquarie, so if everyone wants to click on that one, you can go and have a look. Jeff has just displayed our questionnaire, so it would be nice if people could fill that in. Thank you very much.
You think are not applicable to a fair stand set of questions in each of the webinars, so just put not applicable if you think they don't relate to this particular webinar.
You can click and talk at the same time, yeah. So if anyone has any comments, we're really happy to have a bit more of a discussion if you'd like to say whatever you think.
Just Jeff again here. I think it's really important, Margot, to have the examples of as you've got. So I think the case studies are really good, because certainly one of the things we found talking with colleagues about using technology is that it's all very well, for us to talk in general terms about how these things could be used, but often people in different disciplines would like to see discipline-based examples so that they can visualize, well, how would I actually see my content, my tasks, my activities in this type of environment. And so I think it's really important for us to be able to collect those examples and then to make them available to our colleagues.
Yes, Jeff, I couldn't agree more. That's really what we've found here. We can talk about things in a very abstract way, but people want to see what it might look like. How did someone else use that in their context? And then they can experiment with introducing it to their own needs and making the adjustments there. But it's really good to have these sorts of case studies as a starting point. We've had very positive feedback on these sorts of examples we've been trying to develop.
And one of the things we're doing as part of the webinar series, of course, is collecting up these examples that people are presenting, and also the URLs that people put in the text chat as well, because that's been really useful. So we're capturing those and putting them on our Transforming Assessment website. Again, because people need different pathways to this. Some people will go directly, say, to your Macquarie site, Margot. Others may not know about it and might come into it from another route. So I think it's important that we have multiple pathways for people.
Yes, and that's also true of the work that we do here, Jeff. You probably find it the same. Some people will be interested in assessment, so they'll look for things because of the assessment as a driver. But others might have seen something about a technology, so they can come to the same kind of example from a couple of different pathways, just depending on where their own interests are. So I wondered if people had comments. I saw a few comments about extra normal. Would anyone like to elaborate on what you thought about that when you had a quick click on it? Everyone's probably, oh no, Ursula.
Sorry, talking over the top of you. Yes, I think that just the simplicity of the figures and as you say, sort of, cutting out some of the issues of the real life interactions to get them in those figures. I think that sounds like a really good idea.
I thought it was a great use of a really interesting technology for a very targeted and quite basic purpose, and it worked really well. They're interesting little people. The students that I teach are, well, half of them are Macquarie academics, half are a mixture of academics from other universities and people like school teachers or TAFE teachers that are thinking about a higher ed career. And they often end up talking about tools like extra normal or sharing them with the group. And we get some fascinating variety in the way people use these tools. They can have the one example and then take it off in really interesting directions. So it's great when you see that sort of innovation in action. People are starting, oh no, sorry, Janet, you go ahead. Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. I just thought I'd throw in the issue of one of the things you mentioned early on as focus of learning outcomes was demonstrating early professional dispositions and an ethical stand. And I was wanting to throw open a question of, does anyone try and measure, any of you try and measure those things in assessment items and how do you do it?